in the world, there is a clear pattern on how governments and leaders use the power in their hands. Will this change Europe? Demonstrations erupted over unemployment. There could be some very serious national security questions. What about Mr. Trump's America?
Martin Luther King Jr. would be very disappointed.
Living and working in the US right now gives me an important perspective as an outsider looking in. Any friends or family who are Republican? Yes. Politicians hoping to turn all of this energy into votes. How do you balance your politics? Why do you think it's important to do what you did today? I'm Robin Kono in Atlanta, and this is CNN.
U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr has ordered federal prisons hit hard by the coronavirus to expand early release programs. But CNN has learned that some inmates are scared to leave, as some have no place to go and no assurances that they are healthy. Joining me right now to discuss is Van Jones, a CNN political commentator and former Obama administration official. He's also the CEO of Reform Alliance, an organization dedicated to reforming the criminal justice system. Good to see you. So this early release, is this the best option?
It's the only option, and I think people have to understand there are 2.4 million people right now who are in jails and prisons. It's actually the biggest healthcare system in the United States, and right now those people cannot social distance. They don't have access to hand sanitizers, soap, Lysol, none of that stuff, and they're packed on top of each other. You say, well, geez, I got my own problems. Why do I care? It's everybody's problem for three reasons. Number one, jails and prisons in the United States could turn into morgues over the next couple of weeks. It's a moral tragedy. But also, the jails can become super accelerators of the virus. The guards got to come in, staff got to come in. They're going to be bringing that back out into the community. That's a big danger. Also, if they all get sick and they all have to go to the hospital, 2.4 million people could overwhelm our public healthcare system. So Barr is right that we need to be doing a couple of things. Getting as many people out as we safely can and people who are well. The churches should be opening up their doors. The houses of worship should be opening up their doors to make sure people who don't have a place to go can at least get out of the death trap. The other thing is we shouldn't be putting more people in right now for minor petty stuff. And we should be surging in instead medical supplies and help. But this is something that nobody's thinking about this right now. But I'm going to guarantee something. When you start seeing people dying by the hundreds and thousands in these prisons and jails, we're going to realize we may have missed an opportunity to really knock this virus back by getting people out of harm's way.
Very clearly, people don't have a choice, an option of social distancing when, as inmates. So let's talk about some of the latest numbers of people. 8 inmates at federal prisons have died of coronavirus over the last week alone. What needs to happen to ensure that 100% of the incarcerated population, along with guards, other people who work at these facilities, are kept safe?
Well, there's a couple things that can be done. You have a lot of people who are in jails and prisons right now who are elderly, who are sick, not of the virus, they're just old and sick. They should be able to come out. You got a lot of people sitting in jails and prisons right now, especially in jails, just because they can't afford bail. They're not a flight risk, they just can't afford bail. Those bails should be dropped to zero so people can just go home. Any arrest right now, any minor charge right now can be a death sentence. And so you need for there to be leadership from the sheriffs to the governors to the President of the United States and Barr to say, let's get as many people out as we safely can. And it can be done. And people who you're maybe a little bit more concerned about, there are ankle bracelets. There are ways to get people out safely. And people who may or may not be well, you can quarantine those people in houses of worship and other places. You can build outside of the jail, but you cannot have people stacked on top of each other, 4, 5, 6, 7 in a set cell. One person gets sick and then they're all sick. That is inhumane. It's unacceptable, and action needs to be taken right now, because if we go the direction we're going, we're going to have a pandemic in our prisons. You cannot defeat a plague nationally when you have 2.4 million people in prison who are super accelerating the virus.
So to take a look at this video recorded by an inmate at a low security prison in Ohio in a cry for help, saying one of his cellmates is dying of coronavirus. What's your organization, Reform Alliance, able to do to help address, severe situations at facilities like this?
Well, listen, I'm very glad that Attorney General Barr has come out and said we have to do more. I want to encourage him to do even more and go even faster because you do have this thing beginning to spread. The Reform Alliance, working with Jay-Z and Meek Mill and Michael Rubin and others, has got 100,000 masks going into Rikers Island and prisons across the country to get people out who can come out safely and well, so you reduce the number of people who are dying and suffering. Can you imagine? You have some minor charge, maybe you ran a stop sign, or maybe you sold some drugs non-violently, and you're sitting in jail, or maybe you did something very serious, but you were not charged and you were not sentenced to die from a virus in a U.S. jail or prison. Nobody has been sentenced to die by a virus in a jail or prison. And you're sitting there and you cannot move. And you hear someone coughing, you hear another person coughing. You're begging up, please give me something, let me wash my hands, give me a mask, give me something. And nobody comes to help you. This is what's happening across the country. It is a tragedy, and it can be avoided. We can safely remove people from those circumstances, still hold them accountable, but not kill them and make everyone else more safe, including the guards. If we, by taking prudent action, we have a safer plan at reformalliance.com, a safer plan to deal with this. But the guards are at risk, the staff is at risk, people behind bars are at risk, and therefore all of us are at risk. We cannot allow a pandemic to run through the prison system in the United States of America.
Right. So now let's talk about the general populace too. Communities of color, are being especially hit hard by coronavirus. In the state of Michigan, African Americans account for 40% of coronavirus deaths, but represent 14% of that state's population, according to data from the state. So why is this happening? What is not being addressed?
One of the things that I think happened early on that was a tragedy, and you know this, people in the Black community started saying, well, maybe we're immune to it. Maybe Black people just don't get it. Everybody we see on television is an affluent white person who went overseas. Maybe we're going to be okay. And also, maybe it's just for old people. So maybe you're in a nursing home or something like that. What we are beginning to see is in the African American community, people in their 50s dying, in their 40s dying, in their 30s dying of a disease that we thought was for older white people. Just like HIV, people thought, it's for white guys, it's for rich white guys who are gay. And it became a pandemic in the Black community and destroyed African nations, put them on their heels. A similar trajectory has now begun, with this disease going from older, affluent white to now younger, browner, and poor, because in the Black community, you already have underlying health issues. Hypertension, if you have hypertension, as I do, and you get this virus, it is deadly. Nobody's talking about that. It's not just older people, it's people with hypertension. Disproportionately African American. Yeah, existing conditions. But we just say conditions. We don't say sugar, diabetes as we call it, sugar in the Black community. Asthma, hypertension, obesity. Those are diseases that we have at younger and younger ages in Black and brown communities. That's why our numbers are not going to be 70 years old and 80 years old. It's going to be 30s and 40s and 50s. You're seeing it already. The other thing is density. If you're living in an urban environment, if you're living in a housing project, if you're living in a prison, you can't social distance as easily. So we can't do some of the things that people are being asked to do. All of this means there should be a special alert and a special alarm telling African Americans, Native Americans, Latinos, you may be at special risk. Don't look at your age, look at your underlying health, and stay at home.
Great advice. All right, Van Jones, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, in about 30 minutes from now, Queen Elizabeth II set to deliver a rare televised address to the UK on the coronavirus outbreak. A live report from Windsor Castle next.
music comes from a special place, deep inside of you. But if you ask this gentleman, he'd tell you it actually comes from the world's largest online music retailer, delivered by DHL. That's the power of global trade, and DHL is making it happen.
I'm Will Ripley in Tokyo, Japan, and this is CNN.
In lockdown, isolation, or in quarantine, the world is uniting, briefly opening their windows and doors and honoring their healthcare heroes, the thousands of men and women around the world putting their health and their lives on the line for all of us. The tributes have been global, from Spain, where the medical staff came out to welcome the recognition, to Italy, France, and right around the world.
Hey, I'm Anderson Cooper. Welcome to Full Circle, a show created exclusively for CNN's digital audience. There's a ton of news that happens every day outside of Washington. I'll take you there. We're live in Asbury Park in Portland, Florida, Kiev in Ukraine. You can take me wherever you go. It's news. TV. This is Full Circle. Live weeknights at 5 p.m. Eastern or anytime after that at CNN.com/Full Circle.
Our look at companies that are 100 years old or older.
The most iconic document in Guinness history is the 9,000-year lease on St James Gate Brewery, and that was signed by Arthur Guinness on New Year's Eve 1759. And one of the really nice things on the lease is the Arthur Guinness signature, which you find on the bottom right-hand corner. And just over 100 years later, we see that Arthur Guinness signature turning up in the very, very first Guinness trademark label in 1862. So this is one of our oldest brewing recipe books in the Guinness archives. On the 14th of December 1801, the first recipe for export beer in the Guinness portfolio, a beer called West India Porter. By the late 1800s, Guinness was the largest brewery, not just in Ireland, but actually the whole world, and was known as a city within a city, with its own railway, with its own fleet of ships.
I'm Jürgen Noblo in Surrey, England, and this is CNN.
Images that speak volumes emerged out of Vatican City this morning. Pope Francis celebrating Palm Sunday, a holy day of celebration for Christians in a near-empty St. Peter's Basilica. The celebration is usually held outdoors with thousands in attendance. However, the Pope's message clear, imploring the youth to step up, even putting their lives on the line to help others during this pandemic. Next hour, Queen Elizabeth II is expected to address the coronavirus pandemic in a rare televised speech outside of the typical Christmas address. And when there's a new parliament, the last time a broadcast like this took place was 18 years ago in 2002, following the death of the Queen Mother. 5 years before that, she gave a similar address before Princess Diana's funeral. CNN's royal correspondent Max Foster joining us outside Windsor Castle, where the Queen gave her address, or at least recorded it, right? So what can you tell us about all that happened.
Of course, a lot of people are very keen just to see how the Queen is. She's obviously in her 90s. We haven't been told whether or not she's been tested for coronavirus and want to see that she's well. She clearly is, because this went ahead. It was delivered in a room with only a cameraman dressed in full PPE at a distance. So they're very careful about filming of this. We get to see it, as you say, at the top of the hour. And it's interesting that the government has asked her to step in at this point, because she's there to sort of bring a country together in times of crisis, as you described. So this is a very rare thing for her to do, but clearly there's some concern in the government at this point. We know that she's going to talk about how challenging this has been for the country and have some empathy for the disruption that it's brought to some, grief to some, financial difficulty to others, how it's disrupted daily life. And we know that she's going to talk about how in years to come, she hopes that everyone will be able to take pride in how they responded to this challenge. And I think this speaks to what the government's concerned about, the fact that people have started going out again onto the streets, creating a risk of spreading this virus. She'll talk about thanking those who've been following the official guidance to stay at home and protect the vulnerable. She's very well regarded in this country, very revered in this country. I think the government is hoping that she would step in, and perhaps this weekend, going forward, people will abide by the rules set by the government, Frederica.
Max, what about her health? What has been said about her health? What will, just her imagery be able to say about how she's feeling?
I think we do look to her in times of crisis, but this is also a message for the Commonwealth as well, because this is a global problem. She's a global figure speaking to the world on this issue, and she's revered around the world. So I think we do look to her often. She's often there in times of crisis, and you look to her to sort of offer some sort of guidance when things become difficult. And they are becoming difficult as lockdowns are extended in Europe and the United States, of course, as well. So I think we're looking to see how well she is, to see that she hasn't been affected by the virus. We still haven't had it confirmed whether or not she's had the virus. It doesn't appear, though, that she has, even though she's met people, including the Prime Minister, who've had it.
Okay, even though you mentioned and reminded us that Prince Charles did test positive, he self-isolated for about a week, and as far as we know, he's feeling good. Great. Thank you so much, Max Foster. Appreciate it. All right, the state of Georgia is under a state stay-at-home order, but that doesn't seem to apply to the beaches and parks. Those remain open. Now the mayor of one Georgia coastal town is firing back, calling the move reckless. More on that straight ahead.
Corona. The whole place to go Great.
As the global economy faces an uncertain future, companies across the planet are spurring into action to join the international fight against the coronavirus pandemic. Electronics giant Samsung has sent its manufacturing workforce to help increase the output at face mask production factories, while also turning one of its company facilities in South Korea into a
coronavirus patients
across the U.S.
The Queen's gonna go live in a second.
For more stories of the people and companies making a difference, go to CNN.com/impact.
Huh? And apparently, that guy, Prince Charles, whatever his name is, recovered, isn't he?
I don't believe that people, man. That's not
Be a thing. So I'm here talking to you I'm live on YouTube as well.
Budapest is a perfect place for filming because it's so versatile. One corner can look like Berlin, another can look like Paris. There are a lot of international movies that are shot here for 30, 40 per year.
Today we live in an unpredictable environment and news races around the world at breakneck speed.
I didn't know about his intentions. I knew it could be obstruction of justice.
Much of the latest news and top news makers. Are you playing with fire? We also dive below the headlines to explore vital issues impacting our lives.
It's about right and wrong, but you have to stand up for what you believe in.
We need to realize that our future is at risk and we need to take action.
Was that kind of
They look like you have your hand full.
It's crucial we make sense
Like your
of
hands
what's
full.
happening. Do you regret that? Do you think there should be nuclear power or more commitment to a clean environment?
So Zero to head its experience and change those thoughts. To be honest with you, I do not understand the United States.
Robin, let me get more remote.
That's everybody, because that seems like what worries you. Because we're ready for it. These are the moments where our humanity really does shine through. That's the hardest part.
It's heart-wrenching.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta, CNN.
All right, residents of Georgia are dealing with mixed messaging from the state's top official. Just a few days ago, Governor Brian Kemp ordered a statewide stay-at-home order for more than 10 million residents. Kemp said he decided.
Because I just came. Yeah, I came in not too long ago. I was doing some cleaning and thing, innit? I was out on the road. Hey boy, Kari, you have to listen. Why you not listen? Bad boy, Kari, not listen. Oh yes sir, but me I go beat you. But me I go beat you. I get beaten. Kari, Kari, what's up? What's up, bad boy? You got all your looks. You got all your looks. You got all your looks. Your nose and your skin color. Take a picture of him, and take a picture of you and put it side to side. What's my sister saying? Hey, Zaya. Hello. Hello, Zaya. What's up? Milk.
You want your milk tonight?
Hey.
Count today. 1, 2. Listen, you can't come for milk right now.
Hello.
Every minute you want milk. Leave it. What are you looking at? What is that one? What is that one? What is that one? Oh, you're still alive, right?
Yeah.
So if you're alive, why are you disturbing them? If you're alive, why are you disturbing them?
Nah, it's a vybz Sunday, innit, man? It's just kicking back, chilling. Hey, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go get some dragon and tea, you know. I'm gonna go get some dragon and tea and some more cigarettes and kick back all day. Just live, vibes, chill. Yeah? No, I'm not drunk yet.
Hello?
Hey, Hey, Aisha.
Yeah.
My bottle of white rum finished, you know.
How much did he?
No. I only drunk like one cup.
Not enough.
Yeah. I remember the time I told you, yeah, like every Sunday, like, you know, I take a little in it, yeah, and thing in it. And like the day yeah, he was asking, I was like, oh no, I didn't drink nothing thing in it, yeah. I had like 4 cups that day in it and thing in it, yeah. But
4 cups a day.
yeah, that Sunday when I was like, oh, you know, what?
So you drank 4 today, yeah?
No, I drank one today. The other day, last week.
So how many did you drink today?
One cup. That was the last of it. I drank the last of it. I gotta get some
and
more.
You're that way from 1 cup.
I'm not waved.
And you're that way from 1 cup.
I'm not waved though.
This way.
Huh?
Look it.
Are you sure? Looking good.
Yeah, a bit.
Nah, nigga ain't waved. What you talking about?
Yeah, you look a bit way.
Hey,
I'm just smiling.
no,
Yeah.
you're just gonna have to get used to that look in it.
What look?
The next look.
The Vector. Like, you don't look Vector. You don't look Vector.
Of course I'm happy to see you. I'm always happy to see you.
Well, this is only the second time you see me. My stomach is playing up now. Yeah, I don't know why.
Well, drink it tea. You know that drink it tea. Drink it tea.
Yeah, but I don't understand the...
Corona, Shelly place.
No, I think it is. I think it's nerves.
Ended that